this is on. There we go. Okay. Apologies for that. If you actually just clicked in, and I was dealing with some technicals there. So, my name is FNG007 here on my YouTube channel, and aka Lloyd McVeigh II in real life. And the purpose of this stream is kind of a discussion, tips and tricks on your 3DS that you may or may not have that happens to be modded, and Nintendo's further attempts to brick our modified consoles. And this is actually something that I'm a very passionate person about. This is kind of my public profile up here on screen right now. This is who I am. I'm a United States Air Force veteran. I'm a gray hat. That's a hacker for anybody that doesn't know that vernacular. I specialize in OSINT, some InfoSec. I'm a consultant. I'm a troubleshooter. I've been in the high-tech industry for over 20 years, and an avid gamer from the time I was 5 years old. Mostly with Nintendo products from the get and off the rip. I have since graduated to doing a few other things, doing some modding and other stuff. Here is a copy of my 3DS card. It's a 256 gigger. Is what I have installed on mine, which is here. And I realize that the screen might be a little bit small and all that kind of stuff, but I got quite a few games. I've done a lot of modding on this system. I also do mod PlayStations and all that kind of stuff. Now, why is this important to any of you out there? Because at this stage in the game, I am what you would call a third-party support tech. Okay, in the tech world. For example, when Bill Gates decides to end support for some of the past Windows systems, we as consumers actually get that notification, and that some of us might qualify for the free upgrade or whatever else, but that is when their product is ending support. So you need to figure it out from that point, right? Well, in comes the third-party support people. Why do we need these? Is because suppose you have a company, for instance, that an entire infrastructure is based off of, say, Windows 7 again, and that product line is no longer supported, you need an outside support person to integrate that old system with whatever the customer requires to continue doing what they do, right? When a product line ends its hardware support, specifically hardware, we'll get to software in just a second, that opens up a whole lot of third-party support opportunity. Same thing with software. They are both dependent and interdependent from each other. Forgive me if I'm saying that incorrectly. I don't do a lot of public speaking. But basically, they all are connected, but they're not connected. With the ending of the eShop, that was finally, for all intents and purposes, the end of the life cycle of the 3DS and the Wii and Wii U. Okay? This is very important. So last month, or a few months ago, because, I decided to pull my 3DS out I've been doing a lot more gaming on my PC and my Android phone because, this is always in my pocket. And I think I've got like 200 gigs of games on this alone. Um, that's topic for another video or piece of content. And I'm going to be making a lot of these things publicly available because I'm also big on, game preservation, a few other things. But that is not germane to this. But the problem is that Nintendo pushed out this update on this product that the hardware, especially, has ended its life cycle on. And they couched it in like, we're trying to keep you guys up to date and all that kind of thing, which is what they generally try to do. But the ulterior motive was to brick the consoles that were out in the wild and to stop anybody who wants to modify their consoles in the future if they don't have the knowledge, right? Now, there was a fix inside of like 2 days. But my point is that this should be kind of classified as an illegal act and is actually a cyber attack in and of itself. And, as a hacker since the 80s, I personally don't understand how these big game companies are allowed to get away with this. Once you purchase a product, for a more physical example, let's talk about a car for a second. Suppose that I buy a car and I choose to modify said car. I want it to go faster. I want to put another engine in it. I'm not a car mechanic, so don't know all the details. I'm sorry. I know some, but I am no guru. I'd have to call my buddies for that. But suppose I want it to go faster. I'm going to modify it, right? The only thing that can happen to me from whomever I purchase the car from is that I void warranties, right? And I probably won't qualify for, them fixing my shit if it messes up. But if you took that same car company that had put something into your vehicle that would damage your vehicle when you go to modify it, that's actually sabotage. And if a car dealer was found to do that, can you imagine the class action lawsuit? Because once you buy a good, it's yours to modify and do with as you please, providing that you're not breaking any laws with it. Now, I think that tech companies, and specifically game companies, have gotten away with this for so long because it's illegal to download video games from the net, right? This is totally incorrect. That's not even a cyber crime. At worst, you may break copyright, which is not a penal offense, right? You're not going to go to jail. The FBI isn't going to come knock on my door because I'm downloading a bunch of ROMs off of the open internet. What is hacking and is a cybercrime is like a couple years ago when this yahoo named Bowser decided to hack into Nintendo servers and boost the... It was completed at the time, but it was still not out in production. It hadn't been released. It was Pokemon Arceus. And he decided to boost the files and put them on to a few switches that he had modified, which you can modify and sell your products and all that kind of stuff, even when it's in generation, but you shouldn't do it in bulk at that time. This is getting into a whole bunch of nitty-gritty in the tech world, but the basics is that, like, while something is in its life cycle, yes, the individual can modify and do whatever the hell they want to their system. and sell that system if they choose to. Um, and it's being sold as a modified system. But you can't sell those games, but you can leave them installed in the system. That's another misconception that really drives me insane with a lot of the YouTube algorithms and the things that like kick you off of the net, because nobody, at least out in the consumer sector, knows what the fuck is going on. And there's always these disclaimers and everything like that because this is all hacking. No, it's not. It's not hacking. So, back to this exhibit. See gray hat. Downloading games and playing games from these consoles that are past their life cycle and their software is past their life cycle, there's no hacking that's going on. Even during their life cycle, if you choose to mod the stuff, the only thing that you are guilty of is breaking terms of service. Now, with that, you have to be prepared to not be able to utilize, say, online capability, playing in multiplayer, that kind of stuff, maybe access to the Nintendo shops, for instance, during its life cycle. Anybody that's in the modding scene, we don't give a shit anyway, right? We have made that choice. This is what we want to do, because most of the times it's not necessarily to even just get a bunch of free games. I mean, it can be for some, but it's more so about, I don't need to carry around all my games that go with this. If I ever want to go completely digital, which these days I kind of do want to be because it takes up too much space. I love all the old cartridges and shit like that, but I have sold most of mine. And I put, stuff up on eBay and things like that to clear out my house. I'm a 40-year-old man, and I still love the video games, but I don't have the space for that shit. I ain't even got no kids. But I live out here in California where space is a premium, and I don't have all the space to put my umpteen thousand games that I have at this point in my life. So I want to store them digitally. So that's one of the main reasons that I modify just about any system that I have access to. And I want to play my different games on different systems. Right? So, we have Nintendo that has just put the whole update out past this product's life cycle that totally is wrong, no matter how you couch it here, and that potentially could brick a bunch of people's bought and paid for shit. That is why that initial thing was a little ranty and a bit long, and I apologize. But the purpose of this stream is we're going to watch a couple of these content creators in the community that have honestly made some decent videos about this and how to correct it. However, when I had realized that mine was out of date, I kind of relied on my experience and my knowledge to ensure that my stuff didn't brick. And I actually found a couple of the videos to be not as informative as they should be. And because there's such a suppression of knowledge due to the bigger gaming companies that don't want you to do this, I kind of just wanted to throw my 2 cents on a couple of these things and maybe give you some tips and tricks to move forward with the modding scene in the future. So, go into the YouTube tab here. And this was one of the first videos that I watched. Now, we're not going to watch these things in their entirety. I'm probably going to let it play for the duration that I feel that it's going to be relevant and then we'll talk about some things, and we're only going to go through a couple of these, and then we'll go from there. So let's click into this one first. Oh, that was a bit loud. Let's back it up. And I apologize for anybody if this is too loud for. Because I don't do a lot of live content. Make sure my mic's not ringing. The two settings that you're going to have to remember when you're doing any kind of modding with your 3DS is if you hold the select button and power on, it'll take you to the Luma menu. If you hold the start button and you're powering on, it'll take you into God Mode 9. I know that's a little bit outside of the scope of what he's showing, but it was just something I thought about. I wanted to put that out there. Now, I just wanted to let him kind of introduce this. And he's going to get into this Universal Updater app. Now, this is one of those things that I found amazing, and I was kind of upset that I didn't have it yet, because I was actually on just one version behind the current update, even on the homebrew. Meaning my stuff was already previously homebrewed, but I was up to date up until this release. Right? So it kind of put me in the middle of some of his suggestions. Now, to get this Universal Updater, which is amazing, by the way, if I ever do mod another 3DS and sell it or whatever, this is what I'm going to install. I'll get it to the point that I can open up the homebrew menu, and this will be the first app that I install. You don't need to do anything else after that point. If you know what apps that you need, boom, 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 you should be done. But I digress. And it's also a good way just to get anything that you could possibly want. So he's going to go in on using this Universal Updater, right? But as I say, I was in kind of an in-the-middle quandary, because I was one of these ones that had the previous homebrew, but Nintendo put out this other, this new firmware update, right? So I had to figure this stuff out, kinda. So what should you do if you were in a position like I was? Well, first and foremost, make sure that you have a copy of your 3DS card on your computer, first and foremost. This actually took me a bit of time because, like I said, mine's a 256 gigger, and I had to do some finagling to get it on my computer for this purpose, but it was worth it. And knowing that now, the way that it worked, I would highly recommend that. First and foremost, before you do anything, before you think about updating your system, just make a copy. You'll thank me later, trust me. So let's see, is there... So he's going to update this the system itself here. We skipped through a lot of the using that to update your Luma, which you want to have on the latest rev. Now, if you're in a position like me that you don't have access to this app, type this into Google. Here. Download this. Extract this. And it should be the boot that he's referencing. And what you can do, okay. So we got the Luma 3DS boot firm. This is going to always be the title, regardless of what version it is. It's a continuous title, right? So if you don't want to jack anything up, once you have your other file extracted, you would go in here and just add like a letter. You don't need to do a full rename on this file, but you would just add a letter. Like you could put boots after, right? So because that would change the file itself. And then you'd put your new boot in there. And then you'd power up your 3DS, see if it took, and make sure that you check. You should go into the option here. And kick back just a little bit. Show NAND or user string in system. Make sure that is set. And you would just tab down to it and make sure that set has an X in there, like that does, right? And then you would hit your start button and you boot into your system. Okay. So then he's going to go into the actual download here. So this is all real simple here. So Well, I didn't have the universal updater. You would have to go with the old school install, like I had talked about just a second ago, and I showed where you can get your new release of the Luma and make sure that you are up to date. This is what I had to do, and then I installed the updater app after I made sure that my stuff was good. I had that, and then I updated. Once you have stuff, it's a lot harder to take things off, even with these firmware updates and everything that Nintendo has going. Once you have the stuff set up, that's the whole point of firmware, right? You want to make sure that your firmware is set up, because that's not going to allow the Nintendo's firmware to replace different functionality. So you want to ensure as best you can so that's going to work. Let's go back here. And you can also go through, and there's a couple other YouTubers that have really, really good guides. It's just, with the new update, it kind of made it a bit harder, especially if you're a new modder. And it did lead to because we had it to the point where it's almost impossible to brick these things. With the new firmware update, it's kind of put it back into the ballpark. It's not a huge chance, but there is more of a chance. If you do not have your system modded yet, there's a slightly higher probability that you can brick a system. Now, like I say, there was like a release 2 days after Nintendo dropped this update, but I wouldn't just be going through and finding any random YouTube tutorial at this point. If you're new to the modding scene, make sure that you are reading through the damn documentation, the guide. All right. Let's see. Is this it? It should be. So make sure that you are following all the things here. You can watch videos for reference, but make sure you follow all the things here. Because see, here's where I made a mistake. I didn't read the guide first. Okay? I didn't read the guide first. I would have known that my version of Luma that I had on there before the latest version would have been completely fine. I could have just gone and updated it, according to the guide anyway, right? Because I was like on version 12. I keep my stuff pretty up to date. I was on like version 12 something, and they are now up to 13.02 or something, whatever. But if I would have read the guide, which you should always, but sorry, I'm old, and I should practice what I preach. But read the guide, especially if you've never hacked it before. Read the guide. Because I'm going to have to go through here and see what the new qualifiers are for if you have a unmodded 3DS. They're getting harder and harder to find, like the original unmodded ones, especially with the popularity of it. But there are still some out there in the wild, and it's better to know how to do it. And if you do and are able, make sure that you donate to the stamp site and the developers. They work pretty tirelessly on this type of thing. Okay, so donate to this site, especially. All right. So that was a few tips and tricks, stuff like that. I'm probably going to have some more emulation content. I have some on my channel anyway, but I'm going to do a bit more specifically on DS and some of the older systems, how to play those games, mod those games, where to find those games, all the good stuff. So if you want to join me for that ride and that sort of thing, awesome. If you just came along to get the information on making sure that you don't brick your system, thanks for being here. And don't brick your system. The 3DS, with as much as Nintendo pisses me off, that is probably my favorite system that they came out with, is that 3DS. My very first handheld was the old school brick Game Boy. Okay? So dating myself a bit here. And yeah, I love that thing. I never had a Game Boy Color physically. My sister had that. I bought a Game Boy Advance SP when I was in tech school in the Air Force, because I had a buddy that needed beer money, and you know, we used to play Pokemon and stuff like that in the smoke pit. I bought my OG DS about 2-ish years later, I want to say. Or maybe it was just right before I got out. And then I waited a long time to actually get the 3DS. And my cousin was actually telling me that I should have waited to get my, because I bought whatever the in-between OG DS was, because they came out with a DSxL or something, and I bought one of those. But he was like, yeah, you should just wait to the 3DSxL, man. But I didn't. Anyway, like and subscribe to any of my future content if you would. I'm trying to grow the channel, and I'm going to have some resources and all that kind of fun stuff, because this is obviously something I'm very passionate about, and it drives me up a wall, y'all. It drives me up a wall. So if you actually happen to see this in the video form, I did not pay attention to any sort of the chat, and I apologize for that. I don't do a lot of live streaming and commentary and that sort of thing, and so if I missed you, I apologize, and you know, I'll probably shoot you a blurb or acknowledge you down in the comments of the video once it's solidified and all that kind of stuff. And if you do have any questions, comments, criticisms, etc., go ahead and put them in the comment section. Be prepared to be called out if that's what you do. But you are welcome to say whatever you want to down there. I'm a big believer in freedom of speech, but just be prepared to defend whatever you say to me. Okay? Don't be a dick to each other in my comments. I don't like that. Don't really tolerate cyberbullying of any kind. You can bust my balls all you want to. Be nice to each other. So, until next time, I'm FNG007 here on my YouTube channel. William McVeigh II in real life. You're welcome to follow me on socials and all kinds of stuff. And if you just Google my name, it's William McVeigh II. You can find me. So you can follow me, whatever. Thanks for tuning in. Be safe. Have fun. Game on.